Chris, I don't buy games to play them. Hell no, you shouldn't. Or, hey, it's Chris. So we're talking reasons you should not back Cthulhu Death May Die 3.0 Forbidden Reaches. We're not going there with the pun. It's a Archer phrasing. But I'm telling you, again, as always, why you have my permission. Why you don't need to back this, right? The FOMO. And we're going to talk about it because there's a different FOMO with this campaign from a CMON exclusive standpoint than we talk about with a lot of other campaigns that have gotten away from that business model as a whole. Let me tell you what, why, and things to consider. But as always, full disclaimer at the beginning, right? Not a hater. Love this game. Love this game. Every time I put out one of these videos, people are like, why do you hate on this game so much? Folks, it's not because I hate on the game. It's I hate the game. The marketing, make you feel like you need to get everything, can't miss out on anything, grass is always greener, game. That preamble disclaimer aside, let's go. So in case you're wondering, right, at the very beginning of this is probably, again, very obvious, should not need to be stated sort of point as point number one, why you should not get this. And this point goes to any of you who are like me, who have a lot of this game already. I totaled up the numbers-ish, but I hate this because they never put it concisely anywhere. So these are ballpark figures. Put an asterisk on it. Take it with a grain of salt, if you will. With this game as the modular system of choosing your investigators, choosing your monsters, your cultists, whatever else it may be, then choosing your elder, setting the scene with the episode. What does that actually look like number-wise? If you have the first edition, the regular, plain vanilla Jane Cthulhu Death May Die, you have something, even if you just have the core and the investigators, and let's say, you know what, let's go extreme. Let's say you got Season 2 expansion as well. You're looking at something like on the order of 4 different elders. Okay, that's not too many, Chris. That's not too many. 39 investigators and 15 episodes, right? Oh no, Chris, I don't have enough variability. I don't have enough replayability. Ah! Right? Those are the comments of people saying that is the main concern with a game like this. Okay, you're going, Chris. Okay. You know what, Chris? I dabbled in Season 2. Season 2, another 4 elders or so, another 34 investigators, and another 7 or so episodes with the box and the episode expansion with the core. And I'm probably underestimating there because, again, those figures aren't like thrown out there anywhere easily. It's like grabbing numbers and things from crowdfunding pages. So if you're doing the math, if you have Core 1, Core 2, Stretch Goal Box 1, Stretch Goal Box 2, and one or maybe both of those expansions for a total of like 6 boxes right now, if you actually have Fear of the Unknown, because I don't have it at the time of me filming this. That is 8 Elder Gods, 73 investigators, and about 22 episodes, not to count the number of monsters, which is somewhere between the number of episodes and the number of investigators. An absolute utter cluster fruitcake of numbers. And the other thing, similarly, too much so to the United style of system, is that I would make the argument that a good half of those investigators are not going to be very good iterations, different than other ones that you already have in your collection. And I think that ties into why they had to introduce whole new symbology powers for 3.0, because guys, we've already spit out all the combinatorial systems and slight tweaks that we can do. You know, that's the great thing about the United system, is that the bad guys are so different. That's where I'd make the argument here with the Elder Gods being so different, the episodes being different, but you're not getting tons more of that, folks. You're getting monsters and investigators up the wazoo. Saturation. And you're going to be paying for more of that, right? It's like when I talked about other games and I say, you know, guys, they're giving you a solo mode, a cooperative mode, a competitive mode. You're going to play this game. I am going to play this game, right? I always point the finger back at me when I talk about this. I'm not blaming. I'm not accusing. I'm not throwing shade. I'm saying I will choose one of those modes and invariably play almost exclusively that one mode. So I'm invariably also then paying for 2 modes I'm not using. And some crowdfunding campaigns get railed over the coals for that. Some get a pass. Who, what, why, how, where, when is at the whimsy and at the whims of fickle backers and crowdfunders or retailers, whatever it may be, right? And so that is the question. Does this get a pass by giving you more of the stuff you arguably don't need in terms of investigators? Speaking of things you don't need, as a side note here, don't get Godzilla. I don't care. Don't get Godzilla. On the flip side of things, get Godzilla. If you'd like to spend $210 to make $50 or $100 2.5 to 3 years from now, is that a good investment? You're going to make $50 in 3 years. $50 in 3 years. You're better off putting it in the bank, folks. Put $100 in the bank and, well, you won't have to wonder whether or not you're going to get it, and it won't take up 3 shelves worth of calyx space, I guess is what I'm saying. The second point that I'm going to put out there is that this ultimately isn't really that much different than the previous two, mechanically speaking, right? We talk all the time about reiterations, reimplementations, early backers versus backers coming the second or third time around. And invariably, that's kind of what you worry about, is that are they going to make this more streamlined? And the original product is so good with the pandemic-esque take your 3 actions, mitigate, rinse and repeat, summon, all of those styles in this aspect of this game, is that they really haven't tweaked it as much as you might have feared. And the new thing at all is, well, there's a campaign mode. So again, I think campaign modes are the Achilles heel of crowdfunding backers. I think that they are the biggest siren's lure that has ever existed on a crowdfunding page, bar miniatures or bar deluxe metal coins, right? But seriously, right? You have no ability to play all of the other 37 different campaigns that you have already going. And now the beauty of the simplicity of this game, right, is that it is just chuck a bunch of that random stuff together, create your smorgasbord of scenario, and just have crazy one-time fun-off situation with it, right? Well, don't worry. Now you can link them together, have stats that maybe sort of pseudo carry over, and investigators that can die and can't come back with extra rules along the way, with intensifying horrors, new unknown monsters to be added each time, upgrade from Act 1 to Act 2 to Act 3. And I don't think this is a bad thing. I question the inclusion in the core with it, back to point number 1 of saying, am I just paying for an extra mode, extra cards, extra content that I don't really need? And no, I'm not saying, and never have I said this is a bad value, bad price, except for Godzilla. But, you know, it's $100 still for the base and the core, which is relatively impressive considering the price inflation we have seen dramatically everywhere else across the board, compared to Fear of the Unknown, which is the exact same at this time. But, right, just because it's a good value doesn't mean it's a great non-monetary value for you either. The am I paying more and getting more is not always the win-win that you think it is. Sometimes I wish I could just have a smaller box of something to get in and an easier, more price accessible standpoint across the board. So I might get twice as much content for $100, but I'd sometimes rather have the $50 game at the $50 worth of content to figure out whether or not I love it. And that especially is for those of you that are going in at this point. Because the other thing I guess I would throw in here is if you're looking at this new, if you don't have Cthulhu Death May Die as a scenario-driven, mix-and-match, pandemic-style, progress through your checkpoints, squash the enemies to eventually progress to kill the Elder God after he's been summoned in the craziness, as you slowly get more insane to make yourself more powerful and getting closer to death at the same time, you're probably just better off, well, with all of their shipping issues right now and the fact that you can buy it at retail, getting your shipping for free at retail and buying a core and one of the non-exclusive content gameplay expansions that are already there. Because as I mentioned, the variety in the vast portion of this, in the stretch goal box, the unwhatevers, if you want to call it that, is a vast majority of investigators. Yes, they throw in a few trinkets of the others to entice you, the siren song again. But those aren't going to be the make it or break it's. And then I would argue at this point is if you're looking at this like as someone myself, and you're saying, but Chris, I love this game. I love this game. How many times did you play this game in the last year, right? Again, simple, overstated, underestimated fact. Although you love it, are you loving the idea of it, or are you loving because you play it? And some of you are already going to go, Chris, I don't buy games to play them. I buy them to play them when I want to, when I can. Not that they have to be played. I'm happy keeping them on the shelf and getting them whenever I can be played. I'm okay with that too. But how many of those can you have? Realistically, not a how many can you hold, not a how much money can you spend for disposable income purposes. I'm not making that argument. There's plenty of you out there that have way more than me. But what I'm saying is, at what point does it become unfeasible because you've got 300 games that you're waiting to play and you couldn't get through all of them even if you wanted to, when you want to? The other issue that I guess I would wonder here at the end is with these new powers of this one, that makes me a little bit trepidatious, as I said earlier, in terms of the complexity or the sheer, we've run through all of the iterations of the previous ones that we could possibly think of. And is this going to run into a power creep situation? That's the big unknown if you're a previous backer like myself. If you're looking at it from that aspect, not only from the investigator standpoint now, but with some of the monsters, but with some of the elder gods, with some of the discovery and the relic cards, how backwards compatible is this? Because I'll make the comparison to the United series. A lot of the season 1 heroes are kind of meh now. They're just not that good. And some of them are your favorite ones too, IP wise. And you're kind of looking at them going, yeah. Truth be told, after I bought Fear of the Unknown, backed it, didn't actually buy it because, it's a pre-order that hasn't even arrived yet, I guess. I don't know however you want to split that hair. But I, truth be told, really thought about selling Season 1 because it's giving me all of Season 1 just better. This is Season 1 and 2 just creeped. And so if you grab some of these investigators from season 3 and port them into some of the guys, monsters, cultists, you add some of the relics, is it just going to be too easy? If you flip it the other way and grab the season 1 stuff, investigator wise against the season 3 enemies, is it going to incorporate and be balanced that way? Is it going to be too hard? I don't know. But how much do you trust them to be able to mesh all of those? Or is it going to be a blood rage, stretch goal, monster, miniature, ability wise, break the game style of gameplay? That's a real concern. I think it's better than that. I would hope that it's evolved to more of a balanced issue, but that's the big criticism, not just of CMON. That is a big criticism across the board in crowdfunding in general, but especially expansion content in the hobby as a whole, especially when it comes out real soon after previous stuff. So those are my thoughts on Cthulhu Death May Die Forbidden Reaches. What am I going to do? Again, this is probably the biggest toss-up for me of 2024, truth be told, because I am you, right? This is not coming out, as I said at the beginning of this video, a place of hate. This is coming out a place of absolute love, FOMO, and saying, is this healthy? And the answer is no, but I still have trouble regardless. And I hope that this is helpful, because I'm also one of those people that as I talk through this out loud and I hear that side of things, it definitely gives me something to think about. Hopefully, same for you. Stay classy. Have a great freaking day. Subscribe. Hit me up on Patreon, especially if I'm helping you not FOMO, right? If I just saved you $210 by not buying the Godzilla, then you should totally hit me up on the Patreon and support me there for, that's all I got.